Okay, I'm going to go ahead and begin. We may have more people trickling in, but in the interests of staying on schedule, um, I want to say good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone wherever you may be receiving our transmission. Welcome to day 3 of the 10th anniversary edition of the BGHRA conference, where truly extraordinary conversations continue to build momentum. Today's guest appearance by the filmmaker Sarah Blaßkiewitz is sponsored by the DEFA Library at the University of Massachusetts, the German Film Office of the Goethe Institute in Washington, DC, and we're deeply grateful to both of them for their generous support. My name is Angelica Fenner. I'm a member of the faculty at the University of Toronto, an institution that is located on the traditional lands of the Huron-Wendat, the Seneca, and most recently, the Mississaugas of the Credit River. Toronto is still home to many Indigenous people from across Turtle Island, and as a settler, I'm grateful to strive towards living sustainably within this local ecosystem. This morning, I have the honor and the pleasure of speaking with Sarah Blaßkiewitz, who has graciously agreed to join us today from Berlin to discuss the 2021 release of her first feature-length film, Precious Ivy. The film has been made available to conference registrants for streaming, and if you haven't yet viewed the film, I certainly encourage you to do so just as soon as you can. This film builds beautifully on some of the themes that have been building in the past few days, and especially those now discussed with Bronwyn Akpako in yesterday afternoon's discussion. So welcome, Sarah. We're so grateful that you could take time away from your current projects to speak with us. I regard my own role here today as simply that of helping to guide our discussion by means of a few targeted questions, with the expectation that there will also be questions forthcoming from our audience. And I will then bring those questions forward from the Q&A window. And I'm sure everyone knows where the Q&A tab is, but I do want to distinguish that from the chat box that's located in the left bar of your Zoom window. So the Q&A should be located in the lower center of your Zoom window and labeled accordingly. And I'm sorry, I have a cat who wants to become an internet phenomenon and always seems to join us during these online gatherings. So apologize for the extra audio purring going on here.
Hello, cat.
So Sarah, you've had quite an illustrious lead up to your current feature film. You've trained in cinematography at the Voigt Hochschule Berlin between 2006 and 2011. And then you were serving as an assistant director on several feature films, music videos, and short films. You've shot music videos of your own, as well as scripting and directing several short films. And you've also directed 4 episodes of the German web series Druck, which began to be adapted in 2018 from the Norwegian TV series Skam. And now here we are with your first feature film, Precious Ivy, which premiered at the Munich Film Festival last summer and has since received nominations at several film festivals and Best Film at Ludwigshafen. So looking at everything you've accomplished over the past decade, it strikes me that many of the skills you've been cultivating in your various projects have also fed into this particular feature film. You both wrote and directed the film, so it very much carries your authorial imprint. Can you tell us a little about the incubation process for the project and what inspired the story as such? And I'm raising this question not least because of the autobiographical correlations, beginning with the fact that you yourself were born in Leipzig and grew up in Potsdam outside Berlin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so as you already felt when you watched the movie, I think, is that there's a lot of myself inside the movie. It's the first movie I did, like the long feature movie. So I decided to put yeah, a lot of characters in. I wanted to tell a friendship, a big friendship, because this is what I have in my life, and what I think is important. If you it's the same important for me than family, so I wanted to bring this two parts of my life into a movie. Actually, I wanted to do a thriller before, but no one wants to do with me. So I decided to change the topic a little bit and start with the friendship story. And then I created in my head just some characters. Like the first Ivy was maybe another name or maybe another woman, and she lived with some people and had problems. And then I thought, okay, that's too much Sex in the City kind of. I need more for myself to find out, also to think about. And then actually in my father gets a lot of calls from sisters he never know, and it was also an impact to me, because there was my aunties, and we get to know them, and then we talked about it, and it was like, okay, that's interesting. Maybe I gave my main character a new sister, and then the story starts like this. So first I wanted to do actually a Casavetes kind of movie where just like husbands, like 4 women just talking one night, for example. But I knew that Germany, I would never get money for that. So I decided to put that later on. When I wrote the script, it was really good to have such a good production and also TV station that they allowed me to write such long scenes, like scenes with dialogues, full of dialogues, and like 5 minutes until 7 minutes. That's not normal in German. Always they say less is more, kind of. And I said, no, we need that time. So yeah, so my East German heritage gives me also the because the two cities like Leipzig and Berlin, my East German heritage gives me also the power and the knowledge, because I lived that. I'm from Eastern Germany, but I was born 1986, so I just had 3 years in the GDR, and but I'm growing up in Potsdam and Berlin, and I was always confronted with my past through my parents and my grandparents. So they lived in a separated country, and it is always interesting for me to look how that shapes me, or how that can shape the people. Mm-hmm. So this is also what influenced the Ivy or Precious Ivy story. And yeah, actually it is my father who didn't know his father 50 years. And he grows up in the 60s, 70s in Leipzig, my father. And yeah, I transported this story into a young woman from today, which is totally different. This woman has a totally different life as my father, but yeah, and also the approach to the topic, I would say, it's totally different for her. So that was my goal, to make fiction out of a personal story. to bring it to today's story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really interesting to hear how this weaves together elements of your family history in a new way, and it seems to be a story that certainly there are multiple stories and histories that are embedded, that are woven in. I mean, among other things, it's a story about East and West Germany, about the legacies of that, about divisions and distinctions that are still part of everyday experience. and where, you know, citizens at one time spoke the same language, but experienced very different socializations that still shape the lives also of the second and the third generation, like yourself. And certainly there are many fiction films that explore these differences and tensions, but seldom through this focalization that centers the Black German experience. I think that's really, that's, you know, what is so interesting here, and the way that then maps also onto the East and West divisions and their histories is quite interesting, because it also introduces a very intersectional approach. And by that I mean that, you know, that these different aspects of identity, gender, one's identification with community in the East or in the West, one's self-understanding, the way one comports oneself, language, interpersonal skills, one's knowledge about one's family history, all of these are woven in really complex ways that also that sort of acknowledge certain, I don't want to say stereotypes, but certain inherited understandings, but also complicate them. And I wondered if you could just talk about the kinds of deliberations you went through when you tried to, you know, come up with these characters, and what to put into, what composition to put into each character.
Yeah, it's a lot. Yeah, so for me, the perspective of the movie, like the intersectional, like female point of view, is coming from inside me. So I'm intersectional woman. So I didn't plan it to make a movie like this. It was not a plan to show the world how Afro-German, Black German women live. That was not the first key to the story I had. That was more, I was like interested in create characters. They come from me, for example, and that I can give them knowledge from myself and my friends. I gave it to the characters. So, I was more interested in the conflict they have, not in the topic or in the problem, or kind of that. Yeah, so you can that the audience can fall into these situations with Ivy or with Naomi together. That was my yeah, how I handled the whole plot, because the movie is not so plot driven. It's more like a mirror to see what is next to you, what is in the flat next to you, what is your neighborhood doing. And I didn't saw that before in German cinema, so I tried to create such a story, which is more beobachtend, like you know the word in English.
Just an observation, just a kind of
Yeah, it's more
observational
observation. Yeah, thank you. There it is. Yeah, in the chat there's observation. Yeah, it was more observation for me. And you had a lot of question in your question. Can you say one more?
Sure. So I mean, for example, if we think about Naomi and Ivy, so Naomi, from being from the West, she seems to also embody a certain kind of verbal assertiveness, shall we say, in a certain way. That, and whereas Ivy, at some point when, you know, they have an argument, and she seems sort of like she feels kind of over or überrumpelt, like that there are a lot of assumptions being made or projected onto her, and she, you know, it seemed to me as if there is this East-West quality coming forward there, and I mean, I assume that this is something you've thought about in terms of the what you put into each character, and how that also maps onto their respective socializations.
Actually, for me, it was not, these two characters are not East and West for me, because I thought always the father went from Leipzig to Berlin, but he could just go to East Berlin. So she's also an East German girl, Naomi, but she grows up in Berlin, like the capital. And here is, this is like a more, Berlin is totally different, you know, Berlin maybe, but it's like you grew up more, or she grows up more woke, for example. Her mother gave her a lot of like gives her different tools to have a good life. I don't know how to say it. And for Ivy, her mother was totally different, but had maybe the same. I think I have a little blackout with my English. Okay, I have to start. But the mother in Leipzig also gave Ivy the same tools, but different, because they live in a safe bubble. They lived in a safe bubble, and Ivy created her own family around her, and Naomi has more the street credibility, for example, and grew up in a rougher city, so she had to handle different situations, also with the skin color and everything else we put in this story. But so it is more the city who formed these two ladies, the city Berlin or the city Leipzig, than Eastern Germany. But of course, if you go to Leipzig, you see a little bit of this Eastern Germany. It is not going away. It's still there. Yeah.
So Naomi's mother is black, and Ivy's mother is white, and I wonder how that also sort of shapes, so that you said that Naomi is kind of given a different equipment by her mother to engage with the world than Gabi bestowed upon Ivy.
Yes, but Gabi didn't make it wrong. She couldn't do it better. This is what I wanted to say. It is the best what she gave. She gave her stability and power and for example a brain to that was in a strong way, I would say, but also in a funny way. And that's why for me the most important thing in this movie is the mother and daughter relationship. And that's why I gave them this long minutes in the end to talk about it, because it's I felt like I want to support women who has who have to give birth to a child without the father. It's like and it doesn't have anything to do with where you're from. It's just, can you do it or not?
It strikes me in that regard also that you're here. This is a film that sort of emphasizes matrilineal stories, so sort of the continuities imparted from mothers to their daughters. And obviously there is also, the story is also kind of set into motion by the death of this mutual father, but he remains a kind of defining absence throughout the story. So it really, what the film does then really is to center the female perspective, and to do so from an intergenerational perspective. I sometimes felt as if I wanted to know more about Naomi's mother. that, and I don't know if you purposely emphasized one mother more than the other. It's just we become acquainted with Naomi's mother later than Gabi, or just more, there's just more, I guess, more airtime accorded to the relationship between Gabi and Ivy in the story.
Yeah, that was actually the hard work in the script, because I wanted to show both mothers. I was really sure that we need both mothers. It's very important for the story, but it is Ivy's story, so I have to put the focus on, and I don't want to give them too many airtime, because yeah, as you can see, it is Ivy's and Naomi's way, and they have to walk the way, and they can. And I'd like the feeling that we start with Gabi, and also in the end for Naomi, it was not just necessary to bring Naomi's mother in when we really need her, when Naomi needs someone to go to Africa, to go to West Africa, to Senegal. Then she needs really, because first she tried to find Ivy, because for me, she always wanted to meet Ivy, to take her with her to West Africa, to say, okay, I'm also afraid to go there. Maybe I'm more strong and powerful and everything, and I'm the cool one, but I need you to go there. I'm also afraid of. And then there's the big topic Ivy, and then we met this, is with this beautiful Ivy, and it's like, okay, what is this word? This is so different to my word, and it's just 2 hours away, so I don't have to go to Africa. Then first maybe I can see, oh, what is this sister about? And it's the same for Ivy with Naomi, and but in the end Naomi needs the last kick from her mother to go, because actually the years before the mother was there to help her to live in this country, and that's why I put the mother just in the end. But if I had 10 hours, I would put every mother in it. I'm also interested in Ingo's father. Actually, I had him in the script. Ingo's father was also like standing for the Leipzig people. And I actually wanted to show Ingo's father, but yeah, sometimes you have to kick out good ideas of your script. And so I had to struggle a lot with all the parents I wanted to show. And then I decided this way.
Yeah, maybe you'll have to do a television series to bring all the characters in and kind of continue the story and have both half sisters travel together again to Senegal.
And I'm so lucky that you know, if you write a script, you hope that the people will like it, for example, or like the people or the characters, and then you create it, and then you shoot it, and then that now the people are saying, oh, we need a Ingo sequel, or we want to know more about the mother, or we want to know what Naomi is doing in Africa. I'm really happy about that, because that are the feelings I had with the story too. So it is like it works. that mostly the German film industry is like, oh, just take one character, oh, just one woman is enough, or just take. We need more people in the screen to see how it works together. So I'm happy that that the people ask for some characters in the story and want to know more. Then I did a good job, I think, because you can imagine what Naomi's mother is about. You can think about yourself, what is her life, and then I'm happy if I create such a world.
Yeah, it is a challenge to, when you have so many rich characters within one film, how to divide your time between them in such a way that it doesn't so that there's still a coherence to the story and to the character whose story you need to carry through most strongly. So I can imagine
I
that.
think I had to. Yeah, sorry, I had to. I have to think about one of the most funniest scenes we shot was with Ingo and Gabi, and it's not in the movie. So you can imagine how cool the other scenes are who didn't come into the movie. It was the funniest thing. Next to the car, and Ingo was jumping into the car through the window, not through the door. And he just went into the car, and Gabi was talking to him and also want that he likes her, and Ivy is like next to them. What is going on here? Is my best friend flirting with my mom, and kind of that. So there are a lot of stories behind the story.
Well, maybe when you release the DVD, you'll have to have these outtakes. You can have a section in the menu for us to enjoy these segments that didn't make it into the film.
Yeah, that would be cool. Yeah.
I think on the topic, since you brought up Ingo, I thought this trio, this sort of triadic triangle of friendship was quite interesting as well, and unusual, and since they knew each other since childhood. And it struck me when I watched the film the second time that I realized that the opening sequence is actually the end of the film, because it's the scene in which they are tattooing each other, a sort of friendship tattoo that they're doing. So that actually opens, but it's actually the end of the film. So that something in a sense is coming full circle in a certain way. Yeah, I don't know if you could elaborate on that sort of narrative structure and how Ingo functions within the story as this sort of I mean, I guess I'm thinking about how the story would be different if it was Anna Haug's character, so I'm just forget it. Anna, her name is Anna. Anna and
yes, Anna,
Ivy.
yeah.
If they didn't have the sort of triadic relationship, how would, I mean, what does it bring to the friendship?
Yeah, they both, Anna and Ingo, are the, I don't know, the Säulen of her life. Like, she needs both of them. I think they have together the same humor. Supports, yeah, thank you. Columns, oh, this is so nice to see that you helped me. And I love to, okay, this question is very difficult. I couldn't write it without Ingo. That was the first thing. I needed this character, and it was really interesting to find the right actor for that, because actually I had another actor for that in my when I was writing the script, but then I found Maximilian for the casting for another role, for Chris, I would say, for the other guy Ivy meet in the story. And then I saw, okay, this is Ingo. This is Ingo. He is like improvising. He's a theater actor from Germany. He's a very special actor. And there was everything I needed. Also, the confrontation with Naomi was actually in the real life too. And it was really, really cool to have this, to create conflicts we need. And also I wanted, if you have two ladies, like strong ladies like Anna and Ivy, I really needed this man in between or next to them, and he's always a supporter. He's like, I think the film changes a little bit because of Maximilian's acting, because he was it was such a big heart for me too, and for Haley and for everybody involved. It was like, oh my God, what is he doing? He gives friendship, really. And I have to say that they never, there was never this friendship behind the camera. It was really interesting. It was everything was there, but he realized what the story needs. You know what I mean? He sometimes he was just there, just standing there like this, and because then you have like a island of love and freedom, like the Sun Studio, to go there, and that is what he created, and this is like a gift for me. Actually, in the script, he was just a funny guy, and I wrote also the texts, but he gave them more. I can't explain. So that's.
Yeah, I mean, what strikes me is that it is a sort of introvert character, and that helps create a kind of complement or a counterbalance to the sort of, I mean, the inner anxieties that Ivy is the insecurities that she's carrying around. They sort of get, he sort of embodies them in his demeanor, because he's much more, he's much more soft-spoken, I guess. Whereas Anna and Ivy, have a different, I don't know, there's just something about the way they all complement each other in their persona that I think works very effectively. And I realize one can't take that for granted. These are things that sometimes happen on set that won't happen in real life between the individual actors. So
yeah, but for me, it makes sense because I have these friends too, and I want to tell a friendship. So it was unbelievable for me because I was also afraid to work with Maximilian, because I'm such a fan of him as an actor in theater, and I didn't know if it's gonna go well to shoot with him. Maybe he hates me in the middle of the shooting, kind of, but he loved the world we create. He loved it so much that he always come back to the set with the Ingo vibes, and this is what friendship is for me, that we are now also friends. We are more friends than before. Actually, we call every month, or he wrote me a letter after in the pandemic, because we had to stop the shooting, like after the half of the project of the shooting time. We had to stop it, and then actually just really, because then COVID also came. 1 year later, we started shooting. It was like the last day we want to shoot in the zoo scene where you see my sister and my father when she is in the zoo with the green hair, and decided to go to Berlin. And this scene we wanted to shoot, and then we had a break because of an accident, and then we had to wait 1 year because of COVID to shoot the end of the film, or the scenes we didn't have. So it was so like the worst time in my life I ever had, because I thought I didn't make it. I thought everything is gone. I couldn't create. I could restart in the middle of the process. We are all, like Haley was, I was, like it was a process also for us as Black women in Germany. And at the same time in the break, Black Lives Matter came up, and it was like everything was going wrong. And he sent it to me a handwritten letter, nicht zu zerbrechen, not to broke. He said, you have to think about Huskies, think about, watch this movie, do this, do that, we can make it. And it makes me always cry when I think about it, because this letter is now in my wall in my other room, because I needed that, and this is friendship, and he brings that in. So I can't explain why I decide to go to the beginning of the question. I can't say I decided, oh, I need a man, I need Anne, I need this, I need the mother there. It was more, if you write such a story, you find what you need. And for me, it was actually, Ingo was like a muscle body, nice guy, beautiful, with a husky, and I wanted to make it a little bit like, you know, sexy and every cliche you can have. I want to put in Ingo, and then I found Maximilian. I was like, perfect. This is the actually Ingo I need. I don't need a sunny boy for Ivy. I need a friend. And the dog was, yeah, this is another story. The dog,
Yeah,
the baby.
Well, I think it makes the characters feel more accessible as well. I mean, that they, you know, that they aren't these kind of idealized or romanticized figures is refreshing, I think. But since you brought up the husky, I wondered. I mean, I noticed you had the scene with the giraffes and you had the scene with the husky. So you've brought animals in, and I think animals are, for me, interesting in the way they intersect with human culture. And I wondered what, you know, what inspired bringing them into the story.
Yeah, I can. So the husky is actually one of my best friends, or yeah, a friend of mine had a husky. She was called Doris, and Doris was the first dog I really liked, and I had a relationship with. I think I talked to her when we walked to Berlin to the kids, like, "Hi Doris, now how are you?" like this, and then she died. The dog died, and I thought, okay, this is such a beautiful. Yeah, I want to give Christiane, the dog owner, like her dog back in the movie. It was more like a cinematic visual thing I wanted to have. And then the really, really funny story is that we then went to Leipzig, the whole production, to preparation, the shooting, and in the area we lived as a team, everybody owns huskies there. It was like a trend in Leipzig at the moment that everybody has a husky, and everybody was like, how it comes together. And it is not just in my story. It is really for Leipzig. Sometimes I have blackouts. Ja, es ist sozusagen typisch gerade für Leipzig, dass da ganz viele Huskies rumlaufen. Yeah.
Some sort of a trend, I guess. Well, what I mean, I find that animals bring a sort of kineticism to the screen because they don't perform. You know, they're spontaneous, and so there's a kind of liveness to their presence. But I appreciated the mention about how Ivy and Ingo were sort of co-parenting the husky. You know, that it just sort of brings in another layer of the notion of family, of different types of chosen family, different configurations that can also be interspecies families. So appreciated that.
And the giraffes and the zoo is like, as Ivy says in the movie, if you go to Leipzig, everybody knows about the zoo, because you have this where they walk in the park, they call it zoo windows. I don't know if you know that in Leipzig, they since the GDR, they call it zoo windows. So you can watch into the zoo from the park next to it. And the view they call windows. And that's what was important for me as a kid, and I want to bring it in. And then it makes sense because of the African parts in the zoo and how difficult a zoo is. Like putting animals into a cage is like, what? And it's a very difficult scene when they work there, and how many things they talk about in this one scene. It was very difficult to shoot that and to write it also. Like the scene is now how I wrote it, but it was a long process to go there to really shoot it, because the actresses had like, that feels not good and everything else. And I also felt not so good to shoot it next to the giraffes, and it was very difficult. And I'm very happy that this strange feelings we had are now also in the movie. You know what I mean? That is life. Like, yeah.
Let's see. I'd love to come back to, since we were talking about the friendship, also the theme of allyship. I mean, this is, of course, a film that also, foregrounds the question of racism and the different forms, also benign and benevolent, that this can assume. But you also include scenes that demonstrate modes of allyship, and which I feel is somewhat rare in film to witness that. And I wondered if you could just speak to your thoughts on that as you were putting together this intersectional story.
Mm-hmm. Can you explain it on one scene, or for an example, because I have a lot of situations, and then I can focus on.
Sure. So, for example, when Naomi's walking through along a street in Leipzig, she's harassed by two presumably neo-Nazis, and a white woman comes along and disrupts the scene and pulls out her telephone, so her iPhone.
Yeah, I wanted to show that. So it's a small line what you can do with this scene, and if you take a white woman helps the black woman, it can be not so good. It can be taken as a very bad situation. But what I wanted to do when I wrote this scene was that I always thought about the audience. If you see that you can help, then you can see it also positive. Then you can see that there is a possibility to help. And I wanted to give also a good role model, because I know Leipzig and I know how Saxonia in Germany is seen as a right-wing racism country. I know that, but I also know the really, really the big left politics. Like, we have a big community on the left side, and they do a lot of things for Germany, I would say. But yeah, the media focus on different parts, and I wanted to give Leipzig also this young punk lady, for example, or yeah, that was very important for me. And but the scene went very interesting for me too, as how we shot it. Like this camera around Naomi is actually what is behind that scene. That you have in the center of the picture, you have a really beautiful black lady who is in this uncomfortable situation, and no one hears. No one is talking to her. They're talking to her, but they don't talk to her. So this feeling I wanted to give everybody, how bad it could be in such a situation. So also with the police guy and with the police woman, with the police situation next to the scene, it's like you don't see them. They are talking. You just see her, and they don't want to listen to her. This is what racism is for me, for example. It's one point, and yeah, and that's what I wanted to show. And it's really hard, because, for example, at the moment we had a case here in Berlin. I don't know if you heard about it. I don't think so. but it makes me so sad that I don't know. I struggled since 2 weeks, kind of. We had this situation with a 17-year-old woman in the train was, I can't talk about it. She got into five old people, like 40, 50 racism people attacks her and hit her on the station, and nobody helps her. And it was in Prenzlberg. I don't know if you know Berlin. It's like we are Prenzlberg, you know. And she filmed it, and you see all the people. No one did something. The man hold her, and the woman hit her. And after that, the first police comment on that, I don't know how to say it in English. The first police statement was, young woman attacked because she's not wearing the face mask. They're not telling that this was a racism thing.
A racist attack. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a racist attack. Thank you. I'm a little, it's hot to talk about it. And I was, and after 2 or 3 days, all the media says, oh, 70 years girl because of not wearing the mask in the train. And that is not the truth. The truth is that she was wearing a mask in the train. She had to leave the train because she got attacked by them. Then they went out on the station, like outside where all the other people were. And after this attack, the police came and she came into a hospital. And from the hospital, she made a video. It goes viral. You can see it in the internet if you Google it. I don't know if you want. And she says, okay, I have to tell you what the truth is. And the truth is, and then she explains it and shows also the video because her mom was on the phone. The mom heard everything. It was so, oh God. And so now the country is talking about what I feel is like, I'm laying home and I want to cry when I see that. I can't do nothing, and I wish a lot of people see how they can help in the situation, because the German people grew up like, oh, what you don't see, you don't have to, you don't do nothing. So, and this is so bad. I don't, and we just know about it because this little girl is so woke and knows how to say it, but it's really, I don't know if she has the, if she knows about, or did she get the right Unterstützung, like, because now the video is online. I don't know how many racists watch this movie too. I'm not sure if she's safe now, but I hope that she gets, I don't know, it's really, I don't know. And this is what I'm feeling so sad about. And then maybe this was also, because always I was asked by people, the police, the Saxonian police, you show them so bad, and this is not yeah, this is what police is. You can, why, if I don't show it, I lie. Yeah. So we can tell it. We can also tell a good story about a good cop. Can we also tell there are good cops outside, but we can also tell how bad it is, the situation. And I don't want to explain the story or explain why I put it in, because my feelings about that are like what I now have with this little girl, that I think unbelievable that I live in this country. I don't want to live here in a country where everybody is just watching and says it's not so bad. And I think it's a kid, you also yeah, okay. Coming to a point, I don't know.
Thank you for sharing that. It's difficult to talk about. I guess the particular scene that we were talking about in the film, I think what occurred to me with that film is, with that scene, was that it's very difficult to visualize racism without re-inscribing it. In other words, just kind of redoubling the violence that you want to address. And so I assume, I'm sure that you gave a great deal of thought to what would you do with the camera? What is it that will be included in the frame? What will be excluded? Whose point of view is presented? I think it's a very complicated negotiation for this reason, because you don't want to reinscribe the violence. So I
have to say, I also want to redescribe it. At the moment, when I was doing this movie, I also want to, especially the scene when Ivy is at the teacher's place and talking to the woman, and she's always doing the racist sentences to her. And I made this scene so long that you can feel, as a person who never had that situation before, that you can feel how bad it can be. It can be in every job, in every situation. You can have that as a Black woman or a light-skinned, dark-skinned woman. You can have that in Germany, that you are sitting in a room where confronted with racism every single second. So I wanted that the people feel it. So I would do another movie at the moment.
Okay.
But when I did this movie, I wanted to show how hard it is and how it feels. So you had to go with Naomi, and you have to feel it. And I'm not proud of this decision, but I did it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not proud of it, and I wouldn't do it again. I did it my one time, but I had to do it to show. And I think this is what the impact is about the audience now, that you sit there and you have to really feel it. And I not explain, but I say sorry to everybody I met in the cinemas last month. We talked about it after. It was really important to have to be together in the room and to talk about after it. And I want to be with them. If you have a problem, I met a lot of Black women who say, okay, I have to see it again. But I said, yes, sorry for that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, I fully understand. I think that what you achieve is a certain kind, what I'll call a pedagogy. You achieve a certain kind of anti-racist pedagogy by demonstrating some choices that people can make to alter their behavior, or how to possibly intervene to counter racist behaviors. So, and I mean, I think that obviously was intentional on your part to offer these examples for how that can, how allyship, I guess, could work, and also. Yeah, but it's a challenging thing, I think, to visualize for a filmmaker. I do want to just mention again to our audience that we welcome your questions for Sarah and her film. And so I'm just going to keep my eye on the Q&A. There haven't been any questions yet that I see here. I see, Mary, you have one now. That's wonderful. And so I'm going to start bringing those questions forward. I just welcome you to send more. Obviously, I could speak with you for hours. I have lots of questions I'd like to ask, but let's see what the audience brings forward. So Mary Hennessy, I'm just going to read what she has entered here. Thank you for talking with us today. I am in Berlin and noticed that your film will be playing tomorrow night in Kreuzberg. I was wondering if you mind if I share the screening information in the chat for those that are in Berlin.
Yes, do it. Yeah. Share it. Yeah, the movie Mentos, the cinema next to my home place here. And we decided, because the questions for the movie are not ending, so we decided every month we play the movie until no one is coming. And the last 4 months it was totally booked out. And it's so
Wow.
beautiful how to say, yeah, it's so beautiful. So many beautiful people are coming every month, and I'm like, oh my God, this is unbelievable. Therefore, I made it. So to see, and there are a lot of, yeah, for example, Black women who just said, why you just played one time once here? I had to go through the whole city to watch this movie, and I'm like, yeah, this is Germany. We didn't get a good contribution, so we have to do it like this. It's a very, very private, very cool screening. So if you are in Berlin, you can come, and I'm there for Q&A too.
Wonderful.
And this is with English subtitles.
So an opportunity to see this on the big screen. Makes me all the more regretful that I'm not there right now, but that's neither here nor there. Okay, yeah. I maybe I'll bring another question forward of my own while we wait for more questions to trickle in. It strikes me that this theme that's in your script of having family members, whether it's parents or siblings, whose existence one only learns about in adulthood, is a theme that binds the stories of 3 Black German filmmakers. I'm thinking of Brandwin Okpako's Tal der Ahnungslosen, Valley of the Innocent, Ines Jonsson Spain's Becoming Black, and your own Precious Ivy. And it's a theme that has a specific resonance within the Black German community for historical reasons, having to do also with different forms of migration and mobility across the 20th century. But it's also a condition experienced by increasing numbers of people as social relations become less permanent or become more mobile in different family constellations. But what strikes me is that meeting family members in adulthood raises a variety of conflicted feelings, which we also witness with the character of Ivy. So it can be confusing, and you bring forth these ambivalencies very effectively. And you mentioned earlier in our discussion that you kind of witnessed this perhaps to some extent with your father, that your father had other siblings that he learned about later in life. And so I wondered if you could just talk perhaps a little bit to the kinds of emotions that are raised by learning about new family that you didn't know you had previously.
Yeah, for myself, is this what I had?
But you could talk perhaps about your own experience, but also just how you obviously you've thought about this in broader terms in order to create the characters that you have brought forward and the ambivalencies that they demonstrate, and maybe just some insights that you have into what the nature of the conflicted feelings are.
Yeah, so my private or my own feelings are like, I grew up in a very, very, very sweet and big family from my mother's side, for example. We all look a little bit Chinese too. I have also a little bit Chinese roots in my body. And I grew up with a big family kind of, and I just had this one grandfather and this one grandmother. They live in Leipzig, and then there was this African part we never know. My father was not so interested in because he had his problems in the past when he tried to find his father, and the father was not so available, I would say like this. So he stopped finding him and was not interested in going to West Africa, for example. And me neither. So I was like, yeah, there is something I don't know, but I don't know it, and I have so much to do here with the other part of the family and everything and my friendship. So I was full with a lot of family stuff. So and then there was this call from Mimi, and she said, okay, to my father, I'm your sister and your father is in Paris. And then I have 2 siblings from the same father. And then he was not like, okay, I go there. Like, oh, it's the easiest thing I can do. He was more than, why he's not coming to Berlin, why he's just in Paris. And then we said, okay, let's go there together. We help you. We do it together. And that was the most interesting part of my life. We went to Paris for 1 weekend, met the grandfather there, and it was the weekend, the day after Charlie Hebdo, the attack, and it was like, I don't know, this grandpa, everything was like a very special experience. I don't want to tell you so much because it was like, it's private, but after that, I would say 1 year ago, and then there was this dream to one day we go to Guinea. It is in my case, we go to Guinea and we will be there. The door is open. We can do it when we have the money, when we want, we can do it. But then there was the call that he died, and we never did that. And then I got a video from his funeral. And that was the reason, because I was sitting in my bed calling my other grandpa and was crying and saying, I'm crying because of a grandpa I don't know and I don't understand, but now the door is closed it's closed, that to get this I don't know, this little thing in me, what is African? I don't know if I can get it now. I told to my other grandpa, I was like, okay, now I don't know how to find out what the African part in me. And that was the beginning of this journey of this finding the story. Okay. So it's very private. Yeah. I never thought. Yeah, but I was thinking when I watched this movie, I was thinking, okay, how crazy is that I have a DVD of the funeral of my grandpa, and when my father can't do it, then I want to find out what is this making to me and myself as a woman, so was that your question?
Interesting. Yeah, well, like, wow, what a rich family history you have. It's really extraordinary. I think
yeah,
you have no lack of stories to tell, I think, for your scripts in the future decades. There's so much there. There are some questions coming in, which is wonderful. I just want to follow up one point that you brought up about the video of your grandfather and how that correlates with the ending of the film, where Ivy is watching this footage that Naomi has sent to her. And you see the camera sort of angling around the coffin, which contains the body of her biological father, but you just see a bit of white linen sheet. You don't actually see anything more. And then the camera shifts so that we're not seeing the footage, but we're seeing Ivy, and she slams the laptop shut. And I'm, obviously it's a very mysterious ending, because we want to know, is it something that she saw that triggered that, or is it that she didn't want to see and therefore shut, like she did not want to actually encounter the body of her father?
Yeah, it's both of it. It's like for me, it's a key moment. As I told you now very privately, I had this situation and I thought, okay, when I watched the video, I was like, okay, I'm new. That's the singularity, or this is the one thing I have and maybe the other don't have. I can tell this story. So this is a unique selling point, for example. I wouldn't say that before, but you know what I mean. Mm-hmm. So, okay. And if this is the key moment in the end, I wanted that so mostly stories are like, or opinions are like, yeah, go to Africa, find out. It's interesting to see your family, and so, and they say to you, do this, do that, you know, as a woman you are. And then I decided, no, Ivy, I wanted to give Ivy a self determination to decide that she don't want to go, or that she decide what she wants to do. And with all the information about her family she gets in the movie, it is not so easy to jump into the water, to just jump into the plane, not the water, but the plane, to travel to West Africa. And you don't know what you will find there, and how the feelings will overwhelm you or make you crazy, for example. And if you don't know that, you don't want to go there. And I wanted to show that she can now decide by her own what she wants to show. It's not that everybody project on her skin, on her beautiness, on her body, project what the people want. She can decide when she wants to see this body of her father, or she can decide when she wants to close the laptop, kind of. She can decide if she wants to talk about, to talk with her sister. And I really love this part, because this is not the end, actually. It's at the end in the movie, but it's not the end, because now what she has now is a sister, and she can follow the sister, and she can accept the sister, and she can listen to the sister. And the sister did the hard part and went to Senegal. And this is also very strong and very powerful, and she can decide. And that's why she looks into the audience and says, now look, your family. For example, I don't want to give an answer. You can see everything in this last look in the camera. It's like, I decided I decided that Ivy has to look into the camera. It was really a decision in the script, and I didn't have to fight for it, because it opens so much, and that is what I want to do, that you go with her. Yeah.
It reminds, is this completely different context, but it reminds me a little bit of the ending of Truffaut's 400 Blows, where you have the boy turning and looking directly into the camera. That's the closing shot. But in any, yeah, there's just, you know, it's an open ending, but it's also kind of a provocation to the viewer. Yeah, and I think it's wonderful that you sort of show these two different responses that these two different daughters have to the knowledge of the death of their father, that while one wants to venture forward to, you know, glean what she can and be present for this funeral, that for another, that there, you know, I can imagine that a lifetime of trying to imagine who one's father is very hard to reconcile with just a photograph. I mean, to just suddenly be confronted with this reality on screen that may upend all the sort of fantasies and fears that were bound up in wondering about this unknown person, that it's not easy to come to terms with. So I thought that was very effective in showing that ambivalence. So Zara, if it's okay, I'm going to shift to some of the questions that are coming in and
yeah, I open it too now.
Okay, so the first one is I'll just read it aloud for the audience members that if it may not be checking that window. Someone writes, I thought you were trying to complicate Emma by possibly being just another white person who wanted to sleep with Naomi. Was this intentional ambiguity?
Mm, no. No, no, it wasn't. As I get the question right. Mm, oh, that's difficult. Yeah, I understand the question. I have to think about. Can we go to the another one
Okay,
and I
sure.
think about it a little bit, because it was not this point. Another white person is want to sleep with Naomi. No, it was more that she also finds someone in this new city who can be also a Berliner, I would say. They are very close and they are flirting and they are drinking, and sometimes it's just that. You know what I mean? Like they're drinking to cover this situation they had, and to recover themselves, also like this. And then sometimes I wanted to show Emma, like, yeah, there is a kiss possibility, but not at this moment. And then it's also this point where I talk about self-determination. Naomi says, no, thank you. But I like you. You are the most beautiful person in Leipzig maybe I met. So I wanted to give this layer too. And a lot of other layers maybe, but I don't remember. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Another question from Barton Beeg. Hi, Barton. Could you talk in more detail about what it took to get from idea to script to finished film? How long did it take? What was involved in moving from the script to actual production? And how has the success of the film opened possibilities for your next project? Maybe you could talk about the challenge of telling a more observational story, one that has a more textured friendship embedded in it. And what expectations do producers tend to have? So that's a lot. Maybe we could take that sort of one piece at a time.
Yeah. I think this movie came to the right time when I wrote the treatment. I found the producers, and we were very fast and okay, we want to tell this story. Okay, Sarah, take your time, do what you want, but do it and tell your story you want to tell. It was a luck for me to have that situation, and then I could, the first time of my life in this business, I had really the opportunity to feel safe with the producers in the back, to say, okay, now I write it down. So, and then I took everything I had collect the years before in 2 weeks, I took it in the treatment, and then okay, now we print it, and then we go to the curatorium and ask for money, and it works. It was also surprising me. And then I wrote the script, I think, in 3 months. So that was the first draft, was in 3 months, because I collected it 5 years ago. Since 5 years I was telling this Ivy story and trying to find the best plot for it. I didn't found it, and then I found it. Also with my grandpa story, for example, and also with all the impacts I had in this time. That was not such an easy time for me. And then when we had this, it runs very fast, and after 1 year we shot the first part, and then 1 year later the other part. And now it's very difficult, because then last spring we decided to bring it out, the movie, last year, because we didn't get a contribution. Is that right? Yeah. Because of COVID, everybody was full, and they didn't took a new movie, for example, in their collection. And I was very sad that the movie is now ready, and I knew that everybody wants to see it after this hard times with Black Lives Matter and all those things gonna happen in the world. But yeah, money and everything, and COVID was the problem, I think. And that is the journey of this movie. Then we decided to make it by our own and to go to the open air festivals and to go to the festivals and take the 2021 year and not 2022 when it's too late, you know, for this movie. And yeah, so I would say this friendship story could happen because also the producer Milena is a friend of mine, I would say. It's like we grew together and we like each other very much, and so it's not normal that a producer says, okay, we bring the movie into cinemas and we take this hard work also on our shoulders.
Am I remembering correctly? Is it Bruder Weidemann that are the producers? So they also produced Systembrecher, which came out a couple of years ago, and actually also they produced one of Bronwyn Okpako's early films. I can't remember if it was the Love, Liebe film. So they have, you know, they seem like producers that are also prepared to take risks in the films that they support. So.
So many things here.
Yeah,
you have to help me.
So maybe the question from JB, which is focusing on Ivy, to talk, if you could talk about the intergenerational aspect of the film. For example, when Ivy goes to the hairdresser and the two women there comfort her, does that intergenerational support exist in reality?
Good question.
And also, will Ivy eventually become more self-determined? Will she ever travel to West Africa and connect further with her sister and that side of her family?
Okay, the first question is, this hairdresser scene is also one of the first scene I had in my vision of the movie. It was for me very important to bring her to, actually it was a hairdresser with, I thought about 10 old ladies sitting there in the night, and it was a room full of women, not just two. But then, yeah, COVID. I just say COVID. And I was in the situation, okay, it's just one grandma and one Rosie who have to show the warm motherhood of to give it to Ivy. That was the picture I had. And actually it was more that question, or to bring Ivy in that situation, that she goes with her afro into an afro shop, is like, it's a statement, and it's a thing, and it's also a German thing that you, as an East German thing, that you didn't have that. You didn't have anything for your hair, like in America. You don't. You just have to. You just have struggle with your hair if you have an afro, because there was no products for it, for example. So this is how she grew up and why she lives with the afro, very natural, and do nothing with the afro. You know what I mean? So I thought for my Ivy. And then it was very important for me to bring her in this African room. Yeah. And what does it makes to her? And it makes a lot for her. That's the first time she cries. That is where she finds something, where she finds also her name. that answers the question. The other one I don't get so good. Did she ever travel to? Is it? What does it mean throughout the film? Also, wie wird sie selbst?
In the course of the story, does she, in the course of the story, Ivy goes through an evolution in her thinking, exploring facets of her African heritage, and perhaps also how that translates into you know, statements that she makes in her physical appearance and her choice of hairdresser. Will she then, I guess this is thinking speculatively beyond the confines of the film, will she ever, did you envision that it's alluded to that she will travel to West Africa someday and explore that side of her family?
We have to do it in German. Do I think that this is going to be happen if the movie goes on, or yeah, for Ivy and for myself, I wish that one time we go there together. Okay, it's a joke, but you know what I mean. Yeah, of course, I wish. But this is what I learned. Also, I learned with this movie, you need the right time, and you can decide what is the right time. And for myself, there is not the right time, or there was no time for it. But this is also what I always thought. The story is not at the end. Yes, I wish for Ivy to go there. Yeah, and to get connected to that. Of course, I wish everybody who has this connection lost to get connection. Yeah.
So Kavina is following up also on the figure of Ivy and the pink Kangol hat that she wears when she goes to Berlin right after she gets her hair braided. Kavina suggesting it seems almost like a disguise, as if she wanted to look cool, but it feels forced. Can you talk about your choice in costume here? And was Ivy connecting with her Blackness the only way she knew how, or was she trying to disguise or cover it up?
Yes, it is like this. Actually, it hurts so much when you get the first time your braids. It hurts very much. I had this experience, and I think she feels very uncomfortable after that. And that is also what I wanted to show, that then she gets this new hair, but the new hair can't help you in your life. It's just an overreaction, and she needs this time in the Afro shop. She needs the time with the hair, and she needs to go to the pain. That's why she says to Anna, yeah, it hurts. Yeah, it hurts. Then she can say, yeah, it hurts. And it's the first time when she can say, I'm struggling. I can't. First, she wants to cover everything, and now she feels, no, it hurts, and she feels uncomfortable, and she feels naked. When I had braids, I felt very naked, and all this, yeah, this is not what everybody has because it's so beautiful, this hair, and these braids are so beautiful. But for her first experience with this braids, it is too new and too much. That's why she also put it away then in the way she did it. It's not that she don't like these braids, it's more her inner feelings coming out. Very psychological, because it's always the hair.
I guess hair has a lot to do with identity in general, whether one has much of it or not. So we have another question now from Laura. Thank you so much for your wonderful insights about the making of the movie. My question is about Ivy's and Anna's relationship. I believe it is Anna who starts to work for the Zoll, the customs. At first, I thought placing her in this kind of job was to represent a part of her character and a certain part of German systemic issues. We later learned that Anna is struggling with her ethics in the case of assisting in an Abschiebeprozess, a deportation. And so let's see. Okay, I'm trying to figure out the question in there. How did you think that this part of Anna's life adds dimension to her friendship with Ivy and impacts Ivy, and to what extent it acts again as a mirror of German society and systemic issues?
Yes. Yeah, I took Anna's job, especially for the mirror of the German society. So I wanted to show, because I think I'm a political person, or I'm thinking in politics, but I tried to find a way in filmmaking to do something. It's very difficult for me because I'm not a politician, and I don't want to be a politician, but I have a opinion, and I have things I want to tell, and I also have things I want to tell about the German society. That's why I chose this job for Anne. It's very on point to show, okay, there are changes in the society, there are changes in the Geflüchteten-Situation in Germany. So we have this world in which we live. And but this movie, it's very difficult to bring everything in one movie. I can't do it. And it has to be a little bit also timeless. That's why I chose this job too. So if Anne and Ivy are discussing in the beginning this police thing, and you wearing a weapon and everything, it seems to be very on the side, you know, like very just daily business. But actually, they're talking like, okay, Anne has a job where something totally changes. Yeah, like she has to now do the Abschiebung. And how is it for her? You can't go and say, okay, bye, job, bye, okay, I don't need the money. You have to find your way to, and then I think for me, Anne is not longer working for the Zoll. I think this is what's happened to her after this situation, but I couldn't bring it in the I just bring it in the, like you can feel Anne, I think, in the toilet, in the airport, you can feel what she's struggling, but she's not the main character. So I can give you this little thing to, I had a lot of stories about like that we see her really in such a situation, but I thought it's better because we know about it and we can read the articles and we can, yeah, it's like the story I told before, it's too much sometimes. And then I thought I just give the call, please come, and she don't come. Yeah. Hope that is. As you can see, this movie is for me also a lot. It's like, and in English it's a little bit difficult, but
yeah, it's no, I mean, I think the scene is very effective in conveying that kind of paralysis that she's feeling and sort of a bodily unwillingness to move forward. So I think you convey that effectively. I'm aware that we're at 10:30, and I want to honor the time frame that we are should be adhering to. I feel the time has passed so quickly. I'm sad for us to close this down. Maybe can you just tell us where you're headed with your next project, just to give us something to anticipate that we can enjoy as your next production?
Yes, it's not official, but I can tell you, like, around. It's a series for big streamer worldwide, and I'm the second director. We are two directors in this project, and it's about the first black policeman in Eastern Germany. So I get one more time to this topic, and after that I'm searching for something different. But it's a very, very interesting, very good story about this. It's playing in the early 90s. As it starts in 1989 and ends in 92, kind of. And I'm really excited. I'm in the pre-production and or in the hard prep, we call it. And yes, Solene is still shooting now, and I'm starting in 1 month. And after that, we can tell more. It's a lot of action. That's why I decided to make it. And it's a male story. It's a male character. And yeah, and someone has the answer, but don't tell anybody. Yeah. There's a press release in the next day, so I think it's okay for this part here. It's not a secret anymore, but
okay.
That they are shooting, it's not a secret, and I'm one of the directors.
Well, that creates even more dialogue than with Bronwyn Paco's films, which will certainly be interesting to see. With her, she has a documentary, Dreckfresser.
Yeah, I saw it. Yeah, yeah, it's about him. Yeah.
Well, great. So this is something we can look forward to in the next, I guess, year or so when it's released. And this will be a feature film, or did you say it was streaming?
It's a series. It's
a series. Oh, it's a series. Okay.
Yeah, mini series, 7 episodes. I'm doing 3 of them, or 4. 3, 4. It's
interesting.
Yeah.
Wish
me luck.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you're certainly keeping busy, and no dearth of projects to tackle in the future. Are there
there's no DVD. We don't have a DVD distributor. It's so hard. Maybe I take the money and make my own DVDs. Sorry. But the film is with English subtitles. Now I have French subtitles, and hopefully you can see it on demand on the internet. I can update you.
That would be great. That would be really wonderful for people to have access beyond the time frame of this conference, and whether it's Amazon or Netflix or whoever. That would be wonderful. Are there any final words you want to share before we close?
I have a headache now. I hate internet. I want to see you all. It's
in person.
I'm very honored to be part of it. Hopefully this, actually I dreamed about to go to Canada, to go to America, and to talk about the movie in person. Then it could be more warm, but I'm going to the cinema today, and I hope you. I will. Okay. Wow. I will check out your whole panel week now, and want to see what you are doing also next to what we did today.
Oh, that would be wonderful. I think you will be delighted in what you discover there, the riches that are there. So then I guess I will just thank you so much on behalf of all of us that were present today, and for all the on behalf of all those that will view this recording in future. Thank you for sharing so much about your process with this film, and about your life as well. It's really been a pleasure and an honor for all of us.
It was for me too. And yeah, enjoy the day and write me emails if you want, or what you want, you can do. And I'm on Instagram. You know, this is the good thing on the internet. We can talk again, and I can focus more my thoughts, because I have a lot of.
And hopefully we'll see you in person somewhere or other. I imagine there will be other venues opening up as the world moves forward. Yeah. Beyond, hopefully beyond pandemic, or even with the pandemic, one way or another.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much.
Also, vielen Dank nochmal. Bye, everybody.